council elections in the Federal Capital Territory may have come and gone. However, the exercise is trailed by several reactions, especially from candidates and leaders of opposition parties that participated in the elections. At this news conference in Abuja, some candidates of the People's Democratic Party are dissatisfied with the outcome of the election and vow to challenge the results at the tribunal.
Our records show that we won convincingly at the majority of the polling units. However, the figures were manipulated during the collation process to favor the APC candidates. I wish to state again that we are not accepting these results. We will pursue this matter to its logical conclusion at the tribunal.
The PDP councillorship candidates are not the only ones who faulted the outcome of Saturday's elections. 17 political parties participated in Saturday's elections, with the All Progressives Congress winning 5 chairmanship positions and leaving 1 seat for the PDP. Spokesperson of the Young Progressives Congress YPP and the FCT chairman of the African Democratic Congress ADC faults the election process, alleging electoral fraud by those declared winners by the electoral umpire.
We discovered that poverty has been weaponized, and those who actually had the means went ahead to buy votes. We heard in a place like Abaji, vote was bought for as much as 30,000 naira.
Let them go and check all the polling units. I want my polling unit, the whole of my Kabosa. At the time of, as at about 1 o'clock, we were leading. FCT election has never been like this.
However, not all of the candidates who lost in the polls are ready to seek redress at the tribunal.
For me, personally, it's a waste of time going to court to say you want to go to court and what have you. The same arrangement that happened in the election is still the same arrangement that will happen in the court.
Meanwhile, the APC commended the conduct of the exercise.
Nigerians appreciate what's going on, and their vote and their views is what matters, not on the approximation of the summary or the expectations of just a few people who would rather see the APC suffer a defeat. We are mighty glad that we won the election in the FCT.
Saturday's area council polls were conducted across the 6 area councils in the FCT, and the winners, who are mainly of the ruling All Progressives Congress, now await their inauguration by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory.
Well, yeah, there we see members of different political parties rejecting the outcome of that elections, although the electoral umpire maintained that the process was conducted in line with the law. But of course, the opposition insists that the credibility of the exercise must be scrutinized. Well, we're joined this morning by Mr. Ladan, Salihu, spokesperson, League of Northern Democrats. He's here to give his perspective on what he's seen transpire. And possibly, is that an indication of what is to come in terms of the performance of the electoral umpire? Who knows? Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the conversation. I'd like to start by condoling the management and staff of Channels TV over the loss of, your colleague at the government house, Bochi, the cameraman Ben. I worked with him when I was chief of staff. Yeah. Very nice and very thoroughbred professional cameraman. My own condolences to you, and please extend same to the entire staff and management of Channels Television.
Thank you, sir.
Now to the issues of the morning. Generally, from the perspective of not only the League of Northern Democrats, but from the perspective of the ADC, where I also, operate as a spokesperson, so to say. I am disturbed by a lot of scenarios. First of all, let us look at events leading to the elections and the pronouncements of, especially of some of the dramatis persona involved, especially the FCT minister who foreclosed the idea of any other party winning, but the APC and his own side of the PDP maybe. And that is not good for democracy. What obtained on Saturday, Maupe and Chamberlain, to me, it is Nigeria's democracy on what? On intensive care unit. Literally, our democracy is on a life support.
Why did you say so?
Because, the whole setup was a caricature. It was shambolic. There was nothing that obtained there from the turnout. There is a lot of people are fatigued by the litany of irresponsible attitude of people who are in charge, who ought to ordinarily be seen to be reliable umpires that should be midwifing the system in a manner that citizens will come out and, function and participate and exercise their civil liberties.
In what way exactly?
Yes, when you look at the voting, in the 2023 elections across the nation, we had about 90+ million registered voters, and about a quarter of them participated in the elections. In the FCT elections of last Saturday, in Amak, there was about 7.8%. In other, councils, between 10 and 15%. And this shows to you that, the elections fell short of, the global basic standards of voting. Voters felt that the comments that came before the elections, the body language of the people that are supposed to take charge of the elections, and not only that, not only their pronouncements, but the way and manner in which the city was literally on a lockdown, 8 p.m. on Friday to 6 p.m. on Saturday. People were...
But that held in Bridge.
Yeah,
it happened in Bridge. I was out Friday night, evening.
Yeah.
I happened to go home pretty late Friday evening.
You can be excused and be recognized because of your personality.
Yes, but I'm saying that from what we saw, it did appear that people were still going about their normal businesses on Friday evening.
No, when you are coming from the arteries across the municipality, when you're coming from Kuje, you have a problem coming into the city. When you're coming from Suleja or Bwari or Nasarawa, because the nature of the population in the Federal Capital Territory is such that the more you go outside, the less you have the stress in payment of accommodation and so on and so forth. So a lot of people are registered within, the vicinity of the FCT, but they live outside. They want to come in and cast their votes.
But isn't that the challenge really more about the challenge of the elections? Because from what INEC even said about the polls in terms of the voting population, the turnout, while everybody agrees that this is not the sort of turnout we should witness for, an elections like this, local elections like this, which directly concern the people. INEC says this is actually an improvement in terms of turnout over what they did the last time. Last time they said there were between 10 and 11% of voters registered. This time around it was 15% of voters registered, which is still poor by any standard, but certainly not what they witnessed the previous time. So shouldn't we look critically as to why it is, apart from how people might feel about the elections, but why is it that residents of the FCT, and we can compare it with any other local council election, because in other local council elections, people do not have trust in the state's electoral commissions. But in Abuja, INEC is the one conducting the polls, and more people have said INEC should conduct local government elections. So in the FCT, where INEC conducts the election, why is it that we still witness a low voter turnout? Some people will say it cannot just be about a lack of trust in the system. It has to be more, and maybe one of it is what you've already mentioned.
Yeah, I think basically a lot of people believe that, you know, the elections were literally skewed on emotions, and that probably led to it being a dress rehearsal, a mock of what to expect in 2027. And generally the public felt that there was no need for them. Those serious-minded Nigerians felt that irrespective of what obtains, the results will be the same, unfortunately. So a lot of people chose to stay at home because they know their votes will not count. Let me give you an example. In Usuma 010 polling unit, you had about 14 people that turned out. And then 5,000 people were declared to have. I mean...
how is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, 14 persons turned out in a polling station of about 5,000, or so to say.
Yeah.
And then the number of voters that were declared, I can't remember, went far beyond that. And then, you know, there's a video clip that's making round in the social media where in a polling station that you had about 300 registered voters, 213 participated, 1,215 were declared. So you have this kind of setups that gives citizens who are serious-minded about democracy concern that what played out on Saturday was just a dress rehearsal that made that will inevitably, in their own thinking and in our thinking, make a mockery of democracy, and they lived up to expectations.
Yeah, but Mr. Salihu, isn't it also prevalent? I mean, because lots of other people think that the opposition, at least they, to a large extent, allowed this to happen because they just got their strategy wrong. And if they had pulled themselves together, they might have performed way better because people were looking for them, but they didn't find.
Okay, let me say this, Chamberlain. In the evolution of our own political culture, what I want to see obtained, you know, over the years we have always had reasons to depend solely on political parties on the days of campaign, on the days of voting. The citizen has a responsibility beyond political parties to ensure that the quality that obtains at the time of voting and counting and collation and pronouncement of results, the citizen has a responsibility. If we leave it all to the political parties put together, each one, you know, with their own agenda, you're not likely to have the kind of results that you would need. Okay, I can tell you for free that ADC won convincingly in Amag and some other, you know, councils. According to the sources that we have in the Situation Room. Look, in Maitama and Wuse and thereabout, people voted APC, and like you said, APC. I mean, voted ADC, the African Democratic Congress. All right, but then when you had the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory on a tour, he's not a voter, he's not registered, he is not allowed by law. He's the ordinary citizen. He's just a minister sitting in. For him to be going from one polling unit to another, when that should be the responsibility of who? The INEC Commission. So did that affect the results for the ADC? He was, in fact, as far as we are concerned in the ADC, he was there invigilating corruption. Absolutely. Corruption that you said in the Situation Room? No, the corruption that upturned the results. That was what he was doing. He had no business going around polling units. And why do we need, Chamberlain, why do we need in the Nigeria of the 21st century to have a curfew, to have a lockdown, to have a restricted movement during elections? We are civil and civilized enough and sophisticated educationally to handle such situations. Isn't it also the case that the opposition perhaps focused a lot on AMAC
where the urban area is and neglected the rural areas where that population equally is there. And so the votes that upturned it came from the rural areas.
You see, the opposition had a strategy. Let me tell you this. We saw the attitude and the diatribes and, you know, the way the APC-led government, you know, was going about their own activities. So we just said, look, we're going to participate. We will convince Nigerians that the opposition platform is still the one to deliver Nigeria out of this mess. And you will see Nigerians vote the opposition, but the rigging machine will always come forward with their own attitude. And so, to us, the election results that came out on, you know, the results sheets of INEC, they are the results of the, you know, APC-led structure. But the results that will convince Nigerians and have convinced us in the opposition are the victories that we believe we obtained. And let's look at it. You're looking at 6 area councils. That does not in any way represent Nigeria. Does not. And if anything, it represents the worrisome physical and practical and clear and present danger attitude of the administration led by the APC, that they are out to ensure that they test run their rigging machinery, and for them they can celebrate that, but they should wait for 2027. That will be an answer.
Okay, so that will be an interesting one, and that answer many will be waiting for. We have to thank you for coming. Mr. Ladan Salihu, spokesperson League of Northern Democrats, and also spokesperson of sorts for the ADC, right?
Chieftain.
ADC chieftain. Okay, maybe we'll leave it at that.